Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:27 on the East Coast and 6:27 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here for the next 30 minutes or so as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Right now, I want to get to another big story that we have been following for the past several days as a New York man faces hate crime charges after an attack on Today's Show host Craig Melvin at NBC's studio in Manhattan. Police say the man was arrested Thursday morning inside 30 Rockefeller Center in Midtown by an officer responding to reports of a disorderly individual inside the building. In a statement, NBC News wrote an individual approached Melvin after entering an unauthorized area in a vestibule near Studio 1A. Melvin notified security, who held the man until police arrived. That is according to the network. No altercation occurred and no injuries were reported, and NBC did not say how the man gained access to that area. Again, that man facing charges here, and I want to talk a little bit more about how something like this happens and also the hate crime charge. Let's bring in Kelly Hyman, TV legal analyst, to help break all of this down. Thank you so much, Kelly, for taking the time to join us here on this Saturday.
Good morning. It's great to be with you.
Thank you so much. And first off, I want to ask you about the charges that this guy specifically faces in connection with the situation, a very bizarre situation there happening at the Today Show studios.
These are serious allegations, and as of right now, the allegations are the following: burglary as a hate crime, menacing as a hate crime, criminal trespass as a hate crime, and harassment. So let's kind of break down each one of these and what we know about each one of these charges. So in regards to burglary, someone has to have the intent, and that means the specific intent to enter a place. Now, it's really important that where he entered was, in fact, a restricted area. And also the heightened fact, it's been reported that this is a hate crime. And why is that important? Supposedly, the defendant, Andrew Truelove, entered 30 Rock and he was asking where Al Roker is, who's African American. Then, in fact, he saw Mr. Melvin, Craig Melvin, who is an anchor there, who is also African American and has said allegedly racial slurs to him and lunged at him as well. So we have the burglary. We also have menacing. That's also going to the fact that it's been reported that he was lunged at Craig Melvin and had these racial slurs. Criminal trespass, elements of knowingly entered or remaining unlawfully in a building that is fenced in, enclosed, or otherwise restricted, and in fact, harassment. The element requires intentionally subjecting or threatening to subject another person to physical contact or using offensive, coarse language in a public place. Now, we look at what the potential jail time is for these charges, and the hate crime burglary is 3.5 to 15 years in state prison. Hate crime menacing up to 4 years. Hate crime criminal trespass, 4 years in prison. And harassment, and that could be 90 days in jail. So potentially, as of right now, and this is a ongoing story, up to 15 years in jail.
And something that's interesting, and a lot of people pointed out, I mean, this is a terrifying situation that happened. The person had to enter this restricted area. You're talking about a TV host who was there. I mean, just a bizarre, terrifying situation there. We know that there were no physical injuries that happened. No one was specifically injured. But does that change this in any way? How does it change it?
When we look at the elements of the charges, that's what the prosecution has to prove. Now, no one was, injured. Thank God, everything was okay. That Al Roker was not physically injured, and that Craig Melvin, everything was okay. But when we look at it of what exactly the intent was and the charges, plus also that these are being charged as hate crimes, and that elevates the cases as well. And that's why, because of that, the charges in this case he could go to jail for potentially 15 years. Now, it's an ongoing story, and there might be more charges that we find out because he, in fact, hasn't been indicted by the grand jury as of yet.
If this person turns out to have a prior criminal case, conviction, does that affect anything with the case moving forward?
Well, in fact, definitely the sentencing is as well to consider that. It's been reported that he was out on probation, and so that could definitely affect the probation could be revoked, and that could potentially heighten his charges as well. We're going to have to see ultimately how this plays out.
Can mental health be used as a factor when you're talking about a defense, not necessarily in this case, but in general, when you have something like this happen? How does that typically kind of play out in court if mental health is brought into question?
It has been reported that he did suffer from some mental health issues, and so it can play a part in two ways. One, whether he has the mental capacity to, in fact, stand trial in the case. And so, most likely, his defense counsel will have some kind of psychological evaluation to see how his mental health is. And if he has the, in fact, capacity, the mental health state of mind to go forward with the case if in fact it goes to trial. Now, from a affirmative defense standpoint, the defendants could raise the mental health issue as well as affirmative defense that he had suffered from these mental health. And if in fact, if it goes to trial and the jury believes that, then rather than go to jail, possibly he could go to a mental health institute.
It's also important to note that this did happen at a TV station. We're talking about a big TV station there in New York City, 30 Rockefeller. So, does that change anything from a legal perspective?
From a legal perspective, the fact that the area was secure, so it was a restricted area, is definitely key for the prosecution's case in regards to the burglary because it's heightened by the security that not everyone can enter the place. And there was a security guard there as well. It's been reported that the security guard that was there has been fired and been let go, that was there when this incident occurred. And so, because of the secure situation of the place, heightens the charges.
And I wanted to ask here, moving forward, what kind of protection there is for Craig Melvin, for Al Roker there, if this person is to essentially, I'm not sure on the status now, but if they are to bond out of jail, what sort of legal precedent, what sort of legal options exist for them right now?
So restraining orders. And so what that means in the laws, it means that someone is not supposed to get near someone. They're restrained from getting close to them. It's been reported that Al Roker and Craig Melvin have restraining orders from the defendant, Andrew Truelove. And so that is protection is already in place, not to go near them, not to go near where they work, their homes. So that's a safeguarded order to protect them.
All right. Kelly Hyman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here, helping to discuss this from that legal perspective. Anything we missed that you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
The grand jury. So it's important to remember that, in fact, that he's been charged with this crime, but in New York, there needs to be probable cause. And so what that means is that a jury comes together in New York, usually 17 to 23 people, and they hear evidence by the prosecution. And based on the evidence presented, they make a determination if there's probable cause. And what that probable cause means, if they believe that the defendant is more likely to have the person that have committed these charges and these crimes. So that has to happen in a certain time period. There is going to be another hearing on Wednesday. So there could be potentially more charges after the grand jury potentially indicts him. We're going to have to wait and see what happens next week at the hearing on Wednesday.
All right. Kelly Hyman there, TV legal analyst. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And I'm sure we'll be back in touch as we watch this case play out in court.